you want, what you want.
Hey, welcome back to part 2, where we're going to add details to our spell book, potion book, whatever you want to call it. The first step here, I just went to my computer and printed out some words. I found a font that I liked and print out potions in dark. You can use Microsoft Word for this, or Excel, or whatever program you got handy on your computer that's got some different fonts for you. Play around with the fonts, find one you like, then print them out, and like what I've done here. Once you get them printed out, you just take an X-Acto knife and cut out each piece of lettering one at a time. So to apply the words onto the book, all I did was just put a little paper mache paste right to the book itself, and then applied each letter individually and then covered it with mache paste. Set that out and let that dry, and then we moved on to the next part here. I wanted the words to be kind of a raised look on them. And I did 2 different techniques on the book here. What you're seeing right now is I just took toilet paper, that's all it was, broke off little sections of toilet paper, dipped that straight into my paper mache paste, and then applied it right on top of the lettering. And then used this little metal sculpting tool to push the toilet paper around into place where it was just right over the letter itself. We're just using the letters as a template to keep the toilet paper on, to keep that kind of cool font and shape. Not too hard to do. It is a little time consuming, but in the end it looks pretty cool. I got this idea that I thought I'd put a cauldron on the front of this book, and because I'm calling it a potions book. And what I did is I just took a tape roll like you see there and traced around on the inside of it, made a nice little circle. Then using a ruler, I cut off the bottom side a little bit, flattened it out, and did it on the top as well, just to make this little cauldron design that I could work with. At first, I thought it was going to be a great idea, but looking back on it now that I have it completed, I'm not real happy with this. It's kind of cheesy looking, but at least by going through this, you guys can see really, however you want to decorate your book on the front side is completely up to you. Just use your imagination and do whatever you want to with it. But if you want to make a cauldron like this is exactly how I did it. I just put the circle on there, flattened out the bottom, and then made a top part freehanded, and then just drew it on. I went with a marker so that I wouldn't lose the outline of it, because later on we're going to put clay over the top of this to create our cauldron with. In the spirit of trying out new things, I thought it would be interesting to try to make like a smoky effect coming out of the cauldron itself. So what I took was some polyester fiber fill, like you would stuff a pillow with, and came up with the idea that if I put this in the paste and then applied it to the book, it would make this two-dimensional fog, or whatever you want to call it, coming out of the cauldron. It turned out all right, I guess. I'm not extremely happy with it, but again, this is one of those things. If you get an idea, you try it and see if it works or it doesn't work or how it turns out, and go with it and see what happens. So anyway, this is this is what I did, and this is what we were left with. After that dried for about 20 minutes, come back and cut off the excess fiber there that was going down into the cauldron so it wouldn't have any kind of adverse effect with the clay that I was going to put on. So after that, just took a wad of clay like you see right there, just applied it to the inside of the cauldron outline, and very carefully and gingerly just shaped out a cauldron with our clay. This clay was a little wet and hard to work with, so I got a soft bristled paintbrush and then used it to finish out smoothing out the clay and rounding everything out so things wouldn't look so harsh. Just doing it with the spoon there, with this clay being this wet, it was just too hard to work with. Sometimes when the clay is wet, it's better off that you come back in with a nice soft little brush like this to get the detail that you're looking for. I applied the lettering to the front of the book in the exact same way as I did the spine, but this time, instead of using just the toilet paper dipped straight into mache paste, I just went ahead and used the clay that I had on hand, and just the same fashion in the same way, put little bits of clay on each letter, and then used my sculpting tool to push it around and get it lined up with all the edges of the lettering to make this raised lettering on the front of the book. Now I will point out here, it was a lot easier to use the clay to do this than it was the toilet paper itself. Also, after it dried, the clay stays raised a little bit more than just the toilet paper and mache paste. When you just use toilet paper and mache paste, it really shrinks down kind of small. So if I were to do another one of these books again and do the raised lettering, I would just go straight to clay and I wouldn't do the toilet paper and the mache paste like I'd done earlier. So after the book set and dried for a good 24 hours, it's time to start giving this thing some color. First thing I did on this project, as I do with all my projects, I based it in a black exterior latex paint. Now once this is all painted black and dried, the next step in the process again is I just dry brushed the entire book white, top to bottom and across all the paper area as well. So to add color to this, I had a burgundy color on hand, and I just used it with some water and made a wash with it, and then just painted down the whole cover of the book with this burgundy color, the outside, and then once that dried, came back and got all the inside edges of the book. Now to get the lettering to stand out, I just took a solid white and came back in over the top sides of all that lettering with a small little brush and then just painted the lettering. I didn't worry about trying to get down on the sides of the lettering that much. It really doesn't matter. And this process is actually pretty easy. With that lettering being raised, it's very simple to come across it just with a little paintbrush and a little white paint and hit the top sides of all those letters, and then they really stand out. And once again, I screwed up and lost the footage, but as far as the cauldron itself goes, I did a gray wash over the top of it, and then I made a muddied down green color, and I put that green color into the what's supposed to be the smoke there, highlighted a little bit of white on the bottom. Then I also took that green color and I held the book up straight and I applied it down wet and just let it run and drip down the cauldron itself so it would create this overflow of goop going down the cauldron. Just trying to add a little more detail. I wasn't really happy with the centerpiece itself and doing whatever I could to make it stand out just a little bit better. Now the last step in painting the cover here, to give it a little more aged look or dirty look, I just took some very, very watered down brown paint and applied it to the cover. For the pages, I had this burnt yellow color. I don't really know what color it is. The label's not on the bottle anymore. It's kind of wore off. Anyway, I just took that burnt yellow, mixed with a little water, and painted it straight down to all the pages themselves, just to start giving this some kind of a yellowish texture to the paper so it has that aged look to it. Now after that dried, and to give the pages a little more pop to them, I just took that same brown watered down paint that I had before and applied it straight to this yellow color over the pages. It's real nice when it's watered down like that. It gets down in all those grooves and really helps separate and create the illusion of separate pieces of paper on the book. Once that brown wash was on there, it turned out phenomenal. Once again, thanks for watching, and remember, keep making something from nothing.